Hello everybody, Maven here, and Grandmaster Nightfalls have returned today to Destiny 2, and it is double loot and double reputation, and the drops are insane. So this is definitely something you're going to want to spend some time farming. And the GM this week is the Glassway. I know it may be a little bit intimidating to you newer players out there, but don't worry, I'm going to go over a fast and easy guide to make it as simple as possible. So I'll be going over loadout recommendations, build recommendations on all three characters, and strats for the actual run itself. Now, if you're new to the channel and you don't know who I am and don't fully trust my suggestions, let me show you my Grandmaster report. I have 57 total Grandmaster Glassway clears and almost 1,000 GM clears across the board. So hopefully that buys a little bit of credibility for my recommendations. So with that, let's get to it. Hope you enjoy. All right, so let's start off with loadout recommendations. Now, if it was any other GM, I would say there's a plethora of potential loadouts you could use, but I'm gonna be a lot more strict with Glassway. I believe there is a specific loadout for your fire team that is the best. So hear me out. In Grandmaster Glassway, the only room that matters, the only room you really need to prepare for is the boss room. The boss room is basically GM Glassway. The rest of it is just a cakewalk. So with that being said, player number 1 is going to be on Lemon Arc for overloads with the blinding grenade launcher for the chickens, the wyverns. The wyverns can wipe your fire team. Their little void shotgun attack just straight up one-shots you. Doesn't matter if you're in a well or in a bubble, you will get one shot. So you need to blind those things. And player number 2 is going to be on Witherhoard with an overload hand cannon, but they can be on anti-barrier pulse rifle if they want, as long as their heavy weapon has chill clip, which stuns overloads. And the reason that you want somebody on Witherhoard is because it is the best way to whittle down the boss. It goes right through that Hydra shield. And then player number 3 is going to be on Riptide with chill clip along with an anti-barrier pulse rifle, and they can use whatever heavy they want. So there's some check marks we're trying to hit here with these loadouts. Every single player needs access to overload. That's very important because we're going to be camping out in the left side room, in the boss room, and the overload champions like to rush into that room. So every single player needs to be ready. And the chickens will rush the room too, which is why you need the blinding GL, and then the boss is very hard to whittle down without Witherhoard. So that's the meaning of this loadout. Now there can be some exceptions. If you are a Cenotaph user, Divinity is a good thing to run because obviously Divinity has intrinsic overload. And if you are a Lucky Pants user, you can use the Warden's Law for overload hand cannon. And those are also some pretty good builds that I would recommend trying. But now let's actually talk about builds. Starting on Warlock, I would recommend some kind of way to spam Bleak Watchers, whether that be the Osmiomancy gloves or the Getaway Artist on Prismatic. Bleak Watchers are very, very good because, like I said, in the boss room, we're camping out in the left side room. There's that main middle hallway that you can look out into the open, and throwing Bleak Watchers in that area is very, very good for keeping the overloads at bay. And moving on to Titan, the first build I would recommend is Ursa Furiosa, because after the Well and Bubble nerf, the next best support super is going to be Banner Shield with Ursa. And it's really good for blocking damage down that middle lane of the boss room, but also blocking the boss's attacks itself. Like, you can go to the far left side once there's no more ads and just block all the Hydra bosses like Torch Hammer attacks while your teammates just stand behind you and DPS the boss. And the next Titan build I'd recommend is on Prismatic with the exotic class item. You can pair the exotic perks with things like Heart of Inmost Light with Armamentarium or with Star Eaters or whatever your best role happens to be. It's fine. And this build would be good to pair along with something like the Outbreak Perfected with the blinding grenade launcher. You just want a very good kinetic weapon that you're going to be using a lot because you want to charge your Transcendent meter as quick as possible. Because those Titan Transcendent grenades are very, very good, and we want to spam that as much as possible because they suspend and jolt. They can deal with both the anti-barrier and the overload champions. And if you're on Hunter, we already talked about Lucky Pants, but another build I'd recommend is the Aeon Swift because those overloads are going to be rushing you guys down in that boss room. So since they're going to be in close proximity, might as well do a heavy ammo finisher. But I'm going to be honest though, when you're on Hunter, it doesn't matter what you run as long as you're on Void and you can go Invis. So Lucky Pants, Omnioculus, Graviton Forfeit, Gear Falcon's Hauberk, Orpheus Rig, Aeon Swift, it really doesn't matter. Invis is the only important thing. And now with all the builds and loadouts out of the way, let's talk about the actual run itself. Now the first room is pretty self-explanatory, but when you get to the second room, my first tip is to take out the sniper first and foremost, the one that's on the far top right, because he can be the most problematic if you don't take him out right away. And when you come to the next mini boss as a hunter, I like to go invis and post up on the left side pillar and then use my tether if I have it on the boss and just DPS the heck out of him with my heavy grenade launcher, and then just use use my blinding GL on any ads around me that are threatening. It's a pretty simple room. And when you get to this large open section, it's safest to take this route along the right side of the room so you don't get pressured by the snipers in the distance. And when you get to the plate encounter, it's nice to watch for the shanks that spawn in the far back like I'm aiming at here, because especially later on, they can sneak in and overwhelm you by going in from the front, especially the tracer sniper shanks, so just watch out for that. And when you get to the Vex Milk Lake part, just be mindful of the snipers that spawn up top around the arena. If there's a running themes with GMs here, it's always prioritize the snipers. They can be the most problematic. Now when you get to the boss room, it's quite obvious at this point, we're camping out in the left side room. That's where we'll stay. And the waves will go as follows: Overload champions, followed by chickens and barriers, and then overload champions, followed by chickens and barriers. It just alternates like that. Now each time champions spawn, they will spawn in groups of 4. 2 will spawn at the start, and 2 will spawn once the boss's health reaches a certain threshold. So I would say just ignore the boss until you've killed the champions. Then you can whittle down the boss, more champions will spawn, kill those champions, and then you can finish whittling down the boss until he disappears. And then you're gonna get the chicken spawn. And then it's basically the same rotation from there. And a little note here, enemies will more often than not rush you from that middle hallway. However, they can flank from the left or right side entrances, so just be mindful of that. Have somebody on the lookout, especially on the left side is a little bit more common than the right side, so just have like a floater between the left and right, just peeking out that left side hallway, just to make sure. So just keep repeating the loop until the Grandmaster is done, and that's GM Glassway in a nutshell. I know it may be a little bit intimidating at first, and maybe pretty dreadful, but once you've done it 57 times like I have, it actually becomes quite enjoyable, I gotta admit. So that is going to do it for this GM farm guide. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments down below. I'd be happy to answer. And if the video has helped you out, then maybe you can help me out by simply dropping a like and a comment. And if you got any friends who you think might benefit from this video as well, I'd appreciate if you share it with them. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing, as we are extremely close to hitting 50K subs, and you can help me get there. And thank you so much if you do. And with that, I will catch you in the next video. See you later.